立法會主席。
我諗要叫人。 發言，陳健波議員就獨立監察警方處理投訴委員會2012-13工作報告向本會發言。陳健波議員，
多謝主席。我謹代表獨立監察警方處理投訴委員會，即係監警會，提交該會於2009年成為法定機構後嘅第4份工作報告。呢份工作報告係涵蓋咗財政年度截至2013年3月31日。喺2012-13年，監警會審核同埋通過咗2489宗投訴警察個案嘅調查結果，涉及係4884項嘅指控，比上一年度分別減少咗20.9% 同埋21.7%。喺呢個財政年度獲得通過嘅指控中， 佔最多嘅呢就係疏忽職守，有2317項；行為不當或者態度欠佳、粗言穢語有1789項，同埋毆打有323項。呢3類嘅指控呢係佔咗2012-13年度指控總數嘅 90.7%。喺2013-12年度通過嘅指控中呢，需要展開全面調查嘅呢係有1507項，當中呢有101項呢被列為獲證實屬實，61項呢被列為未經舉報但證實屬實，29項呢被列為無法完全證明屬實，630項呢被列為係無法證實，81項呢被列為虛假不確，同埋呢係605項呢被列為係並無過錯嘅。上述嘅數字呢，包括咗166項經監警會提出質詢後呢，警方同意我哋嘅意見，並且更改最初調查結果嘅指控。喺2012-13年，監警會就通過嘅個案呢，提出咗938項質詢或者建議，當中呢有468項呢係質詢或者建議係獲警方係接納嘅。喺觀察員嘅計劃之下呢，喺2012-13年呢，共進行咗2012次嘅觀察，比上一年度係減少咗0.4%。喺報告期之內呢，係監警會共會見咗2位人士，就調查嘅報告呢係澄清事宜嘅。監警會除咗監察投訴警察科嘅投訴調查工作之外呢，並致力就公眾關注嘅議題呢，同警方同埋持份者呢係加強聯繫嘅。希望監警會可以作為雙方嘅橋梁，為彼此提供一個意見交流嘅平台，促進呢係大家嘅了解。主席，我謹代表獨立監察警方處理投訴委員會，藉住今次向本會提交報告嘅機會呢，係感謝本會同埋其他持份者對監警會工作嘅支持。主席，我謹此陳辭。
石禮謙議員就政府帳目委員會第60A 號報告書向本會發言。石禮謙議員。
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Public Accounts Committee, I have the honor to table our report number 60A today. This report is supplemental to the committee's report number 60 and contains our conclusions and recommendations on Chapter 7 of the report number 60 of the Director of Audit's report on preventive education and enlisting public support against corruption. Mr. President, before I report on the conclusions and recommendations made by the committee, I, on behalf of the PAC, would like to point out that the committee recognizes the dedication and the good work of the Independent Commission Against Corruption and its staff in making Hong Kong a world-renowned corrupt-free society during the last 40 years. The committee's report today tabled only deals with the handling of official entertainment, duty visits outside Hong Kong, and gifts during the tenure of the former Commissioner of ICAC, Mr. Timothy Tong Hin Ming, which I shall highlight below. The committee deplores the inadequacies and non-compliances of the ICAC in handling of the official entertainment, duty visits outside Hong Kong, and gifts during the tenure of the former Commissioner of ICAC, Mr. Timothy Tong, and condemns the then ICAC for having tarnished the well-known reputation of Hong Kong as a place of probity, as well as that of the ICAC as the forerunner in corruption prevention. Secondly, eroded the credibility of the ICAC and the Community Relations Department of the ICAC in particular in educating the public and enlisting public support against corruption. Thirdly, undermine the effectiveness of the work of the Community Relations Department as public funds, which should have been used to provide more organizations and persons with preventive education and enlist greatest public support, against corruption was spent on lavish official entertainment and gifts and excessive duty visits. Now I touch on the subject of public money being spent on the work of Community Relations Department. The committee expresses alarm and strong resentment and found it unacceptable that public money, which should have been used on providing preventive education and enlisting public support locally against corruption by the Community Relations Department, had been spent by the ICAC on official entertainment, gift and duty visits outside Hong Kong during the tenure of the Commissioner of ICAC, Mr. Tong Hin Ming. The committee considers it inexcusable and condemned the then ICAC for failing to put in place adequate checks and balances to ensure the handling of its official entertainment, gift and duty visit outside Hong Kong, which should have been carried out in the most appropriate, economical, effective and efficient manner during the tenure of the former ICAC Commissioner, Mr. Timothy Tong. I shall now elaborate further on the inadequacies and the non-compliances identified in these three matters. On the subject of official entertainment. On the handling of official entertainment, the committee notes that the Community Relations Department of ICAC had continued to exclude the cost of wine and hard liquor procured separately from the expenditure of the meal it organized, despite two incidents that took place in 2008 and 2009, respectively. First, the administration branch of the ICAC had introduced the ICAC Form 569 in June 2008, subsequent to the Community Relations decision to exclude the cost of wine and Mao Tai in the expenditure of a dinner hosted by the former ICAC Commissioner Timothy Tong on 18 September 2007. The main purpose of the form, Mr. President, was to facilitate ICAC officers to comply with government guidelines on official entertainment, that is, to include the cost of wine and hard liquor procured separately in the total expenditure of the meal for control purposes. And second, amendments were made to the ICAC Commission standing orders on entertainment expenses in July 2009. The amended orders set out explicitly that expenditure per person for entertainment should be inclusive of food, beverages, and tips. On the subject of duty visit, regarding the handling of duty visits outside Hong Kong, the committee notes that whilst the Commissioner of ICAC is required to seek approval from the Chief Executive for attending duty visits outside Hong Kong, the former ICAC Commissioner, Mr. Timothy Tong Hin Ming, made no confirmation with the receiving parties on the detailed itinerary prior to submitting the applications to the Chief Executive for approval. This had allowed changes to duty visit plan, including, importantly, adding sightseeing activities and visit more locations without the knowledge of the Chief Executive. An example was the duty visit to Beijing and Yunnan in January 2009. Mr. Tong's application to the CE did not include the trip to Lijiang, which mainly involved visits to scenic spots. On the subject of gifts. On the handling of gift, the committee notes that it is the stated policy of ICAC since 1996 to limit to the minimum of exchange of gift on official occasions. Where an exchange of gift is unavoidable, the exchange should be made from organization to organization. This policy was later incorporated into the ICAC Commission standing orders on acceptance of advantages. The committee also notes that some of the Commission-wide gift approved by the former ICAC Commissioner Mr. Timothy Tong Hin Ming, such as beef brisket and fish balls, could not be said to be under the meaning of commission-wide gift, and some other commission-wide gifts, such as scarves and a camera, were of a personal nature and were expensive. On the subject of other matters, in addition on official entertainment, the committee also expressed grave dismay and finds it inexcusable that the Community Relations Department had continued the practice of not including the cost of wine and hard liquor procured separately in the total expenditure of the mail, in blatant disregard to the relevant requirement in the Commission standing orders, as I have earlier said. The committee expressed grave dismay and found it inexcusable that the administration branch of the ICAC then failed to serve as a gatekeeper for proper use of public money, as it had failed to ensure the requirements of the relevant Commission standing orders and government rules and regulations were complied with. As the public has high expectation of the conduct of the Commissioner of ICAC, the committee considered it inexcusable and condemned the former ICAC Commissioner, Mr. Tong Hin Ming, for his ignorance or total disregard to the requirement to include the cost of wine and hard liquor procured separately in the expenditure of the mail, and the requirement that the giving of gifts should be to organizations as opposed to individuals, and should be kept to the minimum, and to avoid attracting criticism of soliciting gifts and giving rise to unnecessary exchanges of gifts. The committee also expressed alarm and strong resentment and found it unacceptable that Mao Toi was served and consumed at many of the official entertainment hosted or attended by the then Mr. Timothy Tong during his tenure as Commissioner of ICAC. Not only had such serving of Mao Toi increased the cost of the meals, official businesses of the ICAC, which might and often be confidential in nature, could be diverged under the influence of hard liquor or alcohol. The committee considers that it is inappropriate for the ICAC, a law enforcement agency, to serve Mao Toi at official entertainment. On the way forward, to prevent the recurrence of the inadequacies of the non-compliances identified in the report, the committee urges the ICAC should, firstly, put in practice more checks and balances to ensure that public money is used in the most appropriate, economical, effective and efficient manner. And secondly, to take steps to ensure that no attempts will be made by ICAC officers to circumvent or violate the ICAC's regulatory system and procedures for handling official entertainment, duty visits outside Hong Kong, and the giving of gifts to indulge the wishes and whims of their superiors. Regarding the work of the Community Relations Department, the committee urges the department not to, in pursuit of making greater use of the mass media and web platform, to disseminate property messages, slacken its work on making face-to-face contact with different segments of the community and the general public to achieve the same, having regard to the fact that conducting activities by face-to-face approach has been consistently acknowledged by ICAC as the most effective way to get the anti-corruption messages across. Lastly, Mr. President, I wish to record our appreciation of the contribution made by members of the committee. Our gratitude also goes to the witnesses who attended the hearing held by the committee. And I would also like to express our gratitude to the Director of Audit and his colleague for their unfailing support. Lastly, but not the least, I'd like to thank the Secretariat for giving us that unfailing support. Thank you, Mr. President.